So also like just to summarize, I'm going to do another summarize in Chinese just to of like the stuff that you went over. Just make sure people have understanding. And then what we'll also do is a quick Q&A session. And then because I know there have been quite a bit of questions that people have been asking along the way. So I think along with the team, we'll also provide some insights to the team here and the audience. So just hang on tight.
Thanks a lot, DJ.
Okay, sure. Yep. 大家好，我现在给大家很快速总结一下，因为刚才 Dr. Carl 给大家做了一份非常详细的在从临床在欧洲基础于 IVDR 的一个新法规下面一些临床整个设计，然后也给大家一个大概一个价格一个范围，然后包括一些比较详细的通过一些哪一些该用前瞻还是回溯各种各样的一些信息分享。然后也是为了一个时间的情况，我现在先直接跳去那个做 Q&A 的我知道大家群里面也大家提了很多，我觉得非常很好的一些问题，然后我们就用这个时间给大家做一个解答的一个环节在这一块啊。然后稍等一下，我把这个问题看一下来 ，OK， 然后我也刚开始先问一下因为有一个问题，就是大家想知道，比如说，那我们知道，在 IVDR 里面要做很多东西。那比如说，我如果是一个医疗器械厂家，那我们什么时候要开始接触？比如说准备做这方面一个临床准备，包括根据我的产品在这块，所以我会把这个问题先问一下那个 Dr. Carl 在这里，然后我们也有等会儿我们有我们的普瑞这个伙伴也给我们这方面的一些建议在这块所以so Dr. Carl, so one of the questions that was asked is that let's say because manufacturers are wondering right now. There's based on their current what is classification, class B, C, or D devices, and then is there like a timeline of when they should start engaging with like these CROs to restart this process, right? Because we understand that there's like under IVDR there has been extensions of originally it was 2025, now it's 2027. But what is your suggestion of when they should start engaging with CROs and then laboratories in the EU to support manufacturers in doing the validations? Yep.
Thank you very much for the question. First of all, it's generally very, very simple to answer. Now, ask now as quick as ever possible. It doesn't matter for which class. It doesn't matter if it's class B, C, or D, or A sterile. Yes, for some of them, you have time until you kind of need to have everything, the data together until in a couple of years. But remember that, or there's a couple of things to keep in mind here. First of all, notified bodies take some time to go through your files. So estimate at least something like 6 months for that. So even if your certificates, your old certificates are still valid until, let's say, end of 2027, you don't have until end of 2027 to submit your stuff. That is how long that is the end of how long you can legally sell your stuff in your product in the EU. So until then, everything must be finished, and that takes some time. Notified body takes, let's say, at least half a year for something simple. For Class D, 12 to 18 months, we have heard. So a long time. Before that, you have designing the study, thinking about everything, and conducting the study with a process that can very easily take half a year, if not a year. So here we have already 2 to 2.5 years of time that are just only for preparing everything that you have, that you're able to complete to continue with selling your product in the EU. So you see from this time period, there is no time to lose at all. And another thing I want to, just for the understanding of the extensions of the transition periods, important thing to remember is that the deadlines for placing an application to the notified body, like a formal application for conformity assessment at the notified body, are the same as before, pretty much, or the same deadlines that the transition periods were until 2 months ago. For Class D products, you need to have decided until May of next year. No, of next year, sorry. Whether you want this Class D product in the EU or not. You don't need to have your data ready yet. You don't need to have the study conducted, but you need to apply at the notified body. That means that your decision process internally must really pick up pace. You really need to decide on what to do, because the transition periods don't give you that time. They are for getting the data and giving the notified bodies time to check your technical documentation. Your decision process must finish now, and your applications at the notified body and your communication with the CROs and biobanks must happen now.
Can I just add something there as well? Sorry.
Free, obviously.
Also, to just add to that, the applications and the work that you're doing is also competing in a very limited space. So there are a limited amount of notified bodies, there are a limited amount of laboratories, there are a limited amount of CROs, and everybody is doing this at the same time, which means that there's a limited amount of space that you are competing on to be able to get your work processed, which means that, the faster you get through, the more likely it is that you're going to get a slot to do that work. And the faster you do it, the more prepared you'll be. So I would definitely just echo what you said there, Carl, that now, 现在别等.
It was a great addition. Thank you, Ingela. That's a very, very important point. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you, Carl, Dr. Carl, and thank you, Ingela, for the insights here. So I'm going to just translate this or rather summarize of Carl what you just mentioned. Just make sure everyone is like we're on the same page. 所以刚才 Dr. Carl 也跟 Ingela 那边也答复了，因为这个什么时候启动呢？肯定是越快越好。因为首先它公告机构他们那边资源是有限的 ，right？ 他们要花时间去看你这方面一个资料，然后去审，然后这个也是一定的周期的。然后刚才最后那边 Ingela 也补充了，因为在这个过程里面在这个资源有限里面，那肯定是越快越好，把自己包括排队什么就要抢这方面的一个资源，然后去进行这方面一个这个 IVDR 一个申请的一个过程，在这块。好的，那现在我们可以去第二个问题，我看一下还有一个问题就是有一个伙伴在问，比如说关于非欧盟的企业是否有严格的审核流程？如果是产品已经持有其他国家的一些或者其他市场一些认证的指标，比如说 FDA 或者 UKCA 对 CE 审核有什么帮助吗？那这个就我们这边作为普瑞这也可以很快速答复一下，因为这个问题主要是如果是已经有CE FDA， 因为欧盟体系是完全独立一个体系，它对其实对欧盟审核其实是没有很大一个帮助的。在这一块所以这是一点and then just for Carl and Ingela, I think one of the questions they're asking, like let's say they're applying for CE and then they already have like FDA approval, UKCA approval based on our pure global experience, we are telling the folks that hey, it's not gonna essentially like influence or notified body decision, right? In like making their CE approval quicker because of independent assessment body. So that was what the question about. So okay. 然后我们这里刚好应该我们现在因为我们今天问题比较多，我觉得非常也开心看到这些问题。然后 we're just gonna take one more question， 因为看我们时间比较限 ，so we have limited time. So the other question is, it's regarding like the Udemy database. 所以有个伙伴去问，那现在有个中央的一个数据库，叫在欧盟里面叫 Udemy，right？ 那对制造商在申请 CE 的时候，在注册的时候，对 Udemy 这个 database 有什么用处呢？在这一块我们可以起码我们普瑞这边可以先做一个答复，关于对 Udemy 这一块。Udemy 呢，它现在未来几年，它肯定要把这个整个数据库给完善的，但现在目前它还在完善的过程中。那肯定现在没有一个非常强势的要求，就是说，大家必须要登录，但是现在已经有陆续包括我们自己的一些欧洲代理，就欧洲代表一些伙伴们我们已经帮他们在这个数据去登记的，但是它未来肯定是很完善的，因为他们的 初衷做这个 Udemy 就是要把全部的医疗器械的一些信息，跟制造商都放在 Udemy 上面，然后作为大家一个公开的一个平台，都可以查询他们到底，比如说有哪一些知识，然后有助于他们的公众那边去用。但对整个 CE 的审核，在这个过程中，后续的话，它也可以公告机构，包括机构那边。可以用这个数据库看到它有什么一个资质，或者是不是有，比如说很容易看到，比如说同时申请了几家的一个CE 的认证，因为很多时候是我们比如说是在制造商的角度，跟公众的角度可以看到Udemy一部分，但是在公告机构和政府它也有Udemy一个登录，但是它用不同的入口可以看到他们的一个角度到底是长什么样子的，在这块。所以然后我也跟我看一下Dr. Carl 跟 Ingela 在这方面有没有其他的一个补充。So Dr. Carl, so I think there's another question, like more general question about Udemy and Ingela is that people are asking like, hey, does the Udemy database, right, have any other further insights for like, help the manufacturer? Let's say if they're on the database versus they're not. And then from our perspective, what we've seen is like, it had different roles and actors in the Udemy database, right? There's the notified body, there's the competent authority, and then there's of course the manufacturers, and then the authorized representative. So the goal like of European Union to create this Udemy is provide insights to each of the corresponding roles and actors for them to see, hey, about the like the information about different manufacturers and the products to better understand, to actually let the public know about if there's like a product that might have some certain risks and stuff. So from that perspective, in terms of C application wise, do you guys also see any other things that where manufacturers or even the public could benefit from using the Udemy database? So I know this is a little bit side question. So yep.
No, it's not a side question. It's very, very relevant. Especially, I mean, I was already like stressing a little bit the term state of the art. And this is sometimes it's a very painstaking process sometimes to argue what the state of the art is and find especially relevant sources for that, because sometimes you simply don't know because the data of competitor devices are simply not publicly available. With Udemy, everything is publicly available. It still takes a couple of years until that is implemented, but everything will be publicly available. That means also for manufacturers. Yes, it's for the public. Everybody can know what product can do what, but the manufacturers can too. And that means you can much, much better distinguish between what is necessary for your product and your validation study and whatnot. So this will be a very powerful device for decision making for manufacturers.
Okay. Great, thank you, Dr. Carl. So yes, 我刚才跟Dr. Carl 也说一下，因为他说这个Udemy right 也是在这个建设过程中，但是后续的话，最终很多这种信息都会变成公众化，所以但是还有几年在完善的过程，但最终也是给公众一些信息，就是说对不管是产品还是对厂家他们的资质之类的，在整个欧盟里面特别他们已经有货在欧盟里面已经流通的这块就更了解这个厂家他们的整个资质是不是齐全的。Okay, very well. So so I think this pretty much wraps up our today's discussion, and then I would also like to thank Dr. Carl and Ingela for your support and having you guys to really provide the first-hand insights, right, to the folks that's willing to enter into the IVD market, like in the EU, like European market for IVD devices, and then really appreciate that Dr. Carl sharing really the key scientific insight, like the process, especially when we're talking about clinical design, as well as that whole verification process to make manufacturers not feel so anxious or very unknown, right? So this is really I think this is we really achieved that goal. And then Ingela, from lab perspective, I think it's great insight to say, hey, from lab perspective, what we're looking for, what type of quality manufacturers we're looking for, and then to really support them potentially getting, once they have the Cs, the other things they should consider about. So thank you very much. And then I'm just going to do a quick, wrap up for the Chinese side. Just hang on tight there. 今天也是非常感谢 Dr. Carl 跟 Ingela 给我们分享一个非常宝贵的一些指导。然后接下来我们也是要用这个时间是感谢今天大家的关注然后祝大家工作顺利，然后每天非常快乐。好，谢谢大家。
谢谢大家。
好嘞，谢谢。
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
拜拜。
拜拜。
谢谢，拜拜。